factory. Today, I'm super excited to kick the first Spotlight series off with our first user and the customer, Sebastian, who is a technical documentation manager at Siemens. Sebastian, thanks a lot for joining us. How are you today?
Oh, fine. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So if you feel comfortable, we can start our session. I'm planning to ask you a couple of questions to you today. I want to start with my first questions, if you are ready. Are you ready?
Ready to go.
All right. So can you describe your role as a technical documentation manager at Siemens? What are your main responsibilities and how do you ensure the quality and the clarity of the technical documentation?
Yep. Let me first start maybe explaining in which field we work for Siemens here. So I work for Siemens Factory Automation. What we provide for our customers are hardware and software solutions for automation factories and processes. So typical customers are companies from the automotive industry, food and beverage, but also machine builders or chemical companies like BASF or Bayer. So we talk about pretty complex products here. So what we do as a technical documentation department is to provide all the information customer need to set up a certain automation solution. For example, in the field of food and beverage, you want to fill your bottles as fast as possible, yeah? Or you in your workflow, in your factory, you want to pack your products. So for all of these various automation tasks, we'll provide the solutions.
All right.
So
thanks.
Coming back to the question of the quality of the technical documentation.
Sure, go on.
So what we use to always ensure a high quality is that we do a peer review process when we create documentation, both with technical experts and also language experts.
All right, thanks a lot. So how does your team collaborate with the translation teams when creating technical documentation? What process do you follow to ensure that documentation is effectively translated for different markets? Can you describe your workflow?
Mm-hmm. Yes, at Siemens we have a central department for the translation of our documentation. So we send our documentation to them and they provide the translation for the different markets. So all our tools have an export interface where we send the information to the translators. What they do is to separate the documents into segments. Then they do a first translation step with a machine. And then we have human translators who check the quality of the translation. After the translation is sent back to us, the translators also store the human translations in translation memory databases. So whenever we restart a translation, we can always access the translated content we already created, of course, to save cost and time.
I see. Let me ask another question. What specific challenges do you encounter when translating technical documentation and how do you address them? Can you share any examples of complex projects you have worked on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this highly depends on the products. We have, for example, hardware components that are used in an explosive environment. So here we need to be very, very, very sure that all potential dangers are mentioned in the documentation. We need to deliver a very high standard of quality for the technical documentation with also a lot of legal requirements we need to fulfill. So when we talk about this triangle of quality, speed, and cost, we have some hardware products where we need to focus with a high concentration on the quality topic. On the other hand, we have software products, for example, they do release cycles within 2 weeks of certain components. So they want to deliver not only the software every 2 weeks to the customer, but also the documentation. So here we emphasize on the speed we need to deliver. Yeah. So quality is not much of a big topic here, like for our hardware products. But here we definitely need to speed up in delivery and also need to translate the cost since we have these many release cycles.
I see. Thanks a lot. So let's talk about Lugath now. How has your experience been using Lugath for your translation needs? Can you share any specific benefits or improvements you have noticed in your translation workflow since partnering with Lugath?
Yeah, first of all, what was very convincing is that you have the possibility with Lugath to select different kinds of machine translations. We made the experience with some internal test that it depends a lot of the market you translate for and the language, which machine translation is the best. Yeah. Simple example, if you want to translate from English to Chinese, you may want to use a Chinese machine translation, yeah, because maybe the data set is bigger and we get a better quality here. Yeah. For other language pairs like German to English, we experience that translation systems like Google or DeepL deliver a better quality. So yeah, that's one thing, the option to use different kinds of machine translation. The other thing, what is also very important for us, all these machine translation systems on the market, they don't speak our company language. So they don't know our products, they don't know our internal terminology. So what we need is to make sure that we can use our terminology, our glossaries, embedded in the translation process. This is an option Lugath offers.
Great.
Also, regarding translation and translation speed, we highly appreciate the option to use an API so that we can directly send, for example, from a Git pipeline, the text to the translation system and receive it back in no time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all the answers and feedbacks. Thank you. And one final question about the future of the language technology. As technology continues to evolve, what do you see as the future trends in technical documentation and the translation? How is Siemens adapting to these changes?
Yeah, let me separate the answer here between technical documentation and the translation. So for the documentation, I think text will still play a role in the future. Although a lot of our customers, of course, appreciate it when we produce video content, which is easy to understand. But with the rise of chatbots, I think everybody by now tried ChatGPT and other models. These models depend on the use of text. So especially to feed these chatbots, we will still produce text for our technical documentation in the future. The role of the translators, I think, will shift. 10, 15 years ago, the role of a translator was to take a text in one language and create another language out of it. So we're mostly manual labor to translate the text from A to B. What we will see in the future that more and more translation will be done with a machine. So that means also the role of the translators will shift. It's like a bit in 200 years ago when the first, during the Industrial Revolution, first humans were putting together products, yeah, and then because we had this Industrial Revolution, machines started to produce stuff, and the role of the human shifted to ensure that the machine was delivering the right quality. Yeah,
Definitely.
and this we will also see, I think, in the future. So the translator, the role will still exist, but more as a quality officer who makes sure that our machines always deliver a high quality and always to improve also the translation process here.
I definitely agree with you. So all these systems we will be supportive for human translators as a first step, maybe. But after all, after a couple of years later, so it's gonna be changed. We will use these large language models and machine translation engines for the translation scope, of course, more and more. Today, we are maybe looking for the best translators or localization managers to maintain everything. But for the futures, it's going to be changed. We will try to find the best machines, best systems to improve our workflow. Thank you. Thanks a lot for all the answers, Sebastian. It was a great session to talk about the translation workflow of technical documents in Siemens. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.